Well, hello, sports fans. This is Athletics Chat 6, I believe. And we are talking with Stuart Wire. Stuart's in Oxford, England, and this is Larry Eater. And I'm in San Jose, California. And a gracious happy Monday to everybody. And Stuart, don't pass out, but literally just before we went on the air, I sent you a list of topics today. Now, next week, I promise I'll be 2 hours early, okay?
Right.
So, but I think the progress is that I actually wrote them down, which, kind of keeps it interesting. The Impossible Games, did you get to watch any of that?
Yes. Yeah.
And your thoughts?
Well, Larry, the first thing you have to say about the Bislett Games is that the athletics is good, but the strawberry party beforehand,
yes,
in that amazing City Hall where they host the Nobel Prize ceremonies with it's okay to watch the athletics, but if you don't get the strawberries, it's not quite the same.
So I have to tell our dear readers that every time you would go to the Bislett Games, you would write glowingly about the strawberry party. And I first heard about it when Steve Cram, I think, talked about it in the late 1980s with Kenny Moore, the writer for Sports Illustrated. And I remember asking him about it. He just said it was glorious, And you are right. You had lovely pictures of that place, and I would have loved to have seen that. I hope they had like a virtual strawberry party, Maybe there's strawberries and you could run in, grab some, and then go back to your place,
Yeah. But on the Impossible Games, you will be aware that in the early part of the last century, they used to have handicap races.
Yes, which is what I want to see come back. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we may have to, because you see, the Kenyans were running at altitude as against the Ingebrigtsens, who were at sea level.
Yes.
And in the pole vault competition, Mondo had a normal run-up, while poor Levillani, his yard isn't big enough for him to the full run-up. So he was jumping off a shorter run-up, which therefore I think somehow we need to have a formula which will convert.
Yeah, there was a guy named Lon Myers in the U.S. who ran for the New York Athletic Club and then went pro. And he used to do these races where he would run a full 400 and they would handicap people 55 meters, 70 meters, 100 meters, and he would catch them and he would make money, And sorry about that. I thought my lovely phone was off, and it likes to do things where we will now. Oh, I just know what I need to do. If I just put on the little airplane mode, which I haven't had to do for a while. And we're good again now. Sorry about that.
What is an airplane? Could you just remind me?
Yes, I had only been on one since March, which was really strange. I went 2 flights. I went from Madison to Denver, about 1,000 miles, and then went from Denver to San Francisco, another 1,500 miles. The first flight, they moved me up to first class, which was nice. But there were 3 guys in first class and 9 seats open. It's just it's a very strange world to fly. And Michael was flying yesterday, our production manager, and he said that in Denver, it was like nothing was open in the airport. And most people, thankfully, are wearing masks. Although there is a whole, conspiracy thing in the U.S. My favorite conspiracy is that aliens brought COVID to us. Now, I must tell you that 26% of Americans believe that Elvis is still alive. So it should kind of help you with that whole COVID alien thing, But so I haven't figured that one all out yet. But I did hear someone say yesterday, as I was standing socially distanced to get coffee, he talked to the lady getting the coffee for us and said, "Do you know anybody who's got this COVID stuff?" I don't know anybody who's died from it. So, and that's the big thing in the U.S. You know, I don't know if it's that way in the UK too, but
well, I think we take it very, very seriously because I mean, 46. I think it's 40 something. Well, over 40,000 have died, but then
yeah.
we also think that if you do the statistics differently, it could be 60,000.
Yeah, well, in the U.S. now, it's scary. I mean, there's a young man that my son Adam grew up with, who's over at Stanford in epidemiology and genome studies, and he's been working in the hospital there, and we correspond. And he tells me that what they're using for all the models are the Spanish influenza from 1918 and 19. And he reminded me that they're at parallel with the Black Lives Matter protests and some of the other protests. There was in 1918, first there was a celebration of the end of World War I. Then there were protests about the influenza, and there were and people got terribly sick a second time around. In the U.S. right now, where we're at in Santa Clara County, the numbers are way up. But what's scary is my little home state of Wisconsin. When I left, there were 5,600 cases. Now there's 21,000, and it's scary. You know, I can tell either I'm going to either be locked down again, you know, totally locked down here, and it's shelter in place in California, and they've been opening up in Wisconsin. And I just, you know, I don't want people to get sick, and it's unfortunately some people are not going to learn until they do, and this is not a thing to play with. And I'm very concerned about our athletes right now. You know, it's just, I thought the Impossible Games, they did a lovely job with it, Stuart. You know, they is as good as they could do. And I think that off the top of my head, if they would have let the Kenyans run about 2,600 meters, maybe 2,700 meters, so give them a 200-meter lead, I think that would have been an honest race. And it wasn't that this one was honest. You don't know the level of fitness, and my God, the rain and everything, and the winds. Anybody who's been on a track and those kind of conditions knows that's difficult. So, you know, I love Karsten Warholm and his, you know, hurdles, and he's always fun to watch. He's an entertainer and a fine athlete, you know. And I look at Noah Lyles like that. I think Mutaz Barshim's like that, you know, and our friend Blanka Vlasic was always like that. You remember when she competed with was it 2009 when she competed with the German high jumper? It was theater, you know, and I'm not sure the German coach was real pleased with it all, but people loved it, you know.
Yeah. Just since you mentioned Blanka, I spoke to her a couple of months back.
Okay.
And she hasn't competed since Rio.
Wow.
But she has not retired. She's had surgery, and she was hoping to do the Olympics this year, and will be hoping to do the Olympics next year.
Well, she's you know, I got to interview her in my last time, Paris 2000. I would interview every year at Paris. In Paris 2017, she almost brought tears to my eyes, and I'll have to pull that interview up. She talked about the struggle she was having with her Achilles and how much she loved the sport, but how difficult it was. And I never, you know, she always is good interview, good quote. But there's those times when athletes get to that special place, like Adam Jot, the Polish 800-meter runner, in Birmingham in 2018. My son Adam and I sat down and interviewed him, and we were doing it on Facebook at the time. And he got into the zone talking about why he competed, the level of competition, what he loved about competing, what he had learned from his coach. And it was like, I wanted everybody to see it, because it was one of those, moments that in a career as a journalist, you kind of go, wow, this is why we do it. But we've got so many athletes like that. I mean, Blanka was absolutely wonderful. I think Renaud Lavillenie is really fun to interview. My favorite, though, is taking him, Mondo, and Sam Kendricks together because they really enjoy each other.
Yeah.
They want people to get into the pole vault, I recall a piece years ago that I wrote about how women's pole vault saved the men's, and that's true. But these guys now are building the pole vault, and on the men's side, you got Kendricks, you got Piotr Vlasic. The Polish vaulters are a lot of fun to interview, and
it's always good to have a pole in the pole vault.
Yes, it is, Stuart. Thank you. I wanted to give that to you, and there's a perfect bat with the cricket bat right there, my friend, because I can't say a reference to baseball because trying to explain to Brits baseball is really difficult. They understand the part about drinking beer at the game. Not a problem with that. But the whole game, they just go, well, you guys just stole this from cricket,
But Larry, somebody once told me the difference between golf and baseball is that if you miss the ball 2 out of 3 times in baseball, you're a millionaire.
Yes.
If you miss the ball 2 out of 3 times in golf, you need to get a new job.
I like that. That is good. Yes, that's true. That's true. There was several American baseball players who were also fine track athletes too. Bob Gibson, who was a great pitcher, was a really good sprinter. That always would kill me when I would check out my All-American teams for American high schools and see how many kids did not do track in college because their football coach said no track and field. Now, in the southern states in the U.S., if you're on a football team, you're on the track team. That's just the way it is. And it develops the kid's speed and those kind of things. The northern schools and the Midwestern schools, it was weird. And they went on to specialize, and I remember asking Michael Johnson about that when he was we interviewed him for his Michael Johnson Performance Center. He has one up in Ohio and one down in Texas. And he told me that he thought one of the most disappointing things in American high schools was kids specializing in sports. He said, why don't they run track and play baseball and do football? Why don't they do 3 sports? Because it develops different skills, And I just don't think high school sports in the UK are at that level, it doesn't sound like, which is probably a better thing because kids can do gymnastics and do track and do some other stuff.
Yeah.